Hello, I'm Super Orange Cat here. I'm today with Toonami's ratings from February 6, 2021. Let's start at the top of the block. At the start, we have Dragon Ball Super at a 0.21, Attack on Titan at a 0.19, War of the Underworld Part 2's finale at a 0.17, the Fire Force comes in at a 0.15, the Assassination Classroom at a 0.13, Gridman at a 0.13, Naruto Shippuden at a 0.11, and the Demon Slayer at a 0.09. This week pretty clearly was a good step in the right direction. Some might argue this was actually a good week from the block. And what happened? Well, it starts at the start of the block. Dragon Ball Super went up 7/700ths of a point. And to varying degrees, the shows behind it followed in that suit. Which, to this day, still proves that Dragon Ball Super, or at least whatever show ends up being the #1 slot, usually just decides how the night goes for Toonami. And some can say Cosmo Samurai, the Total Immersion event, the non-canonical Total Immersion event, played a role. That's arguable, and I'll give my argument in a moment to why I don't think that was the case. But other things to see here. Attack on Titan. I've made it pretty clear that this has kind of been a bust. The season 4 has been a bust for Toonami. Because like I said, everyone's just watching the sub right when it comes out, and they're not going to come back for the dub that airs like a week or so later. But this week, some people did. It was, I think the trajectory was like 0.2, 0.12, 0.13, 0.14, now a 0.19. And people are like, it's going to be 0.25 next week. It's not going to get that high next week. Definitely not. This is probably its ceiling for its run on Toonami. But again, it's an improvement. And then War of the Underworld, it ends at a 0.17. We say goodbye to what was effectively part 3 of the saga of Sword Art Online with a 0.7. This is nowhere near the best that even Underworld has done. I believe even part 2, its first few weeks, were getting like 0.21, 0.22. And I distinctly recall Sword Art Online actually got pretty good ratings, like when it originally was on Toonami, like at this point 6-7 years ago, whenever it actually first aired in Toonami. It was getting great ratings. And yeah, but again, we say goodbye to Sword Art Online. And considering how we are going, it's weird how they're doing what they're going to decide to adapt next. I think they're going to try to adapt, like they're going to adapt a movie of like what happened in like the different floors they didn't show during the progressive arc, and then they're going to try to do a retelling, I think, of Sword Art Online 2. That's what I've been told. I don't know if this is what's actually going to happen, but it's going to be a long while before we see Sword Art Online on Toonami again, if we ever even see Sword Art Online in any capacity in Toonami again. Fire Force 0.15. I mean, Fire Force, I've been saying, has kind of been the show that time forgot. Like, it's not doing great at all, but it's not doing comically bad enough that you can point fun at it. But at the same time, I mean, a lot of people had a lot of expectations for how Season 2 is going to do on Toonami. It hasn't lived up to that, but it went up 500, so at least I guess there's a win there. And then the biggest problem the block might lie with Assassination Classroom. It only got a 0.13, which is an increase of 400 from the previous week. However, it's one of the smallest increases for any show on the block from week to week. And the fact that this show is getting a nice 1-hour promotion up to the 1 a.m. slot starting this Saturday, February 13th. So a show that, and I said back in the past, this show has had that great ability to bring in viewers who wouldn't normally watch Toonami to the block. However, the last few weeks, not only has it dropped along the rest of the block, it's done a increasingly poor job of retaining. There are periods early in its run, the first few episodes of Assassination Classroom were building on the shows before it. A few weeks ago, it built on Fire Force. I think it even built on War of the Underworld at some point, too. But the last few weeks have been a bit slow for it rating-wise. And that's the thing to note with the middle of the block here. The one weakness I see in Toonami this week is the middle of the block, which usually is well known for having rock-hard retention, really didn't have good retention. Going from Attack on Titan to an hour later having like an hour and a half later having Assassination Classroom only at a 0.13. Usually it would be like something like whatever the second show is being like a 0.20, 0.21, and then like the 5th or 6th show being like a 0.18 still. And we're not seeing that here with the Assassination Classroom. And maybe that's foreboding something bad happening when it gets moved up to 1 o'clock, with Black Clover filling in at 2 a.m. And then afterwards, I guess Gridman had a good week, went up 600s to a 0.13. For the highest rating, it's Adam's Toonami Run, which is very sad if that's what a 0.13 gets you now. But I mean, it's one of those shows that it's stuck at 2:30 until it dies. I think we're 4 episodes into it. And like I said, with short anime runs like this, I believe it's 12 episodes long. We're gonna have it's not gonna move off its initial slot, you know, because Adult Swim or Toonami learned its lesson back when, for some weird boneheaded decision, when Fully Cooley Progressive was debuting, not even its rerun, it's when it was debuting Fully Cooley Progressive, the show they were talking about for 2 years. They decided after like the 3rd episode to move it up 30 minutes. And the ratings, despite being put in a more favorable slot, the ratings actually went down for the show. And I think that's what the lesson Toonami learned from that is, if you have like a really short run show, like 12, 13 episodes, unless they really have to, they're going to try to keep it in the same slot the entire time. And I say that to expect that for SSSS Gridman. I think it's also the next show that's going to it's going to finish here, I believe, like 7-8 weeks away. I know we're going to have this weird period where we're going to have like a 4-week period, late spring, early summer. We're going to replace like 3-4 shows. That's going to be a fun, chaotic time. I expect that to be when we get something like Fina, Pirate Princess. If we get Dr. Stone, we're probably going to get it in that window. And if we're lucky and for all little good boys and girls this Christmas, Daddy DeMarco is going to give us Promised Neverland Season 2. I'm not holding my hopes up for Promised Neverland Season 2. And on a side note, I haven't watched Season 2 yet. And obviously, I'm not going to give spoilers because I don't even know what happens. But I have been told that it goes away from the manga, which scares me a little, considering historically. And there's obviously going to be exceptions for anime. When the anime starts veering away from the manga, starts veering away from the source material, that's when the show starts getting wonky. And a famous example of this is probably Tokyo Ghoul, because a lot of people, myself included, might be like, I actually really like season 1 Tokyo Ghoul. I don't know why people are complaining about it. And then the second season hits you right hard in the face, and you're like, man, why did I ever like this show? Apparently, they just decided to adapt a whole bunch of manga material really, 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 really fast. So they had to leave details out. Nothing got explained. And then you have that artistic shit show that was the last few episodes. Toka ends up running the entire time, and you just die a little more on the inside. But again, digress. I'm going on a sidebar here talking about Tokyo Ghoul. So back to the focus at hand. Like I said, in that window, early spring, we're probably going to get Fina Pirate Princess, probably Dr. Stone. As a note, it was announced that Thursday it's going to start its airing run in Japan, or at least it's going to start. I believe I believe it's going to first be on Funimation on Thursday. I forgot if it's a sub or dub that's going to be on Funimation. It's going to be one of those, which leaves it to be wondered when Toonami is going to pick it up. So I digress. If there's a clutter of announcements, it's probably going to come then. And again, next Saturday night, new schedule. Oh, wait, one more thing I wanted to add. I completely forgot. I briefly mentioned Cosmo Samurai earlier, and I wanted to circling back to it, and to give my opinion on it. I finally ended up watching it a few days later, and I don't have a strong opinion. A few of the good things I liked were, one, there's a cat. Obviously, I'm gonna like the cat, you know me, and the fact that it's subbed actually helped, because I didn't really realize this until watching Cosmo Samurai, but Steve Blum has a crappy voice for voice acting. Like, I like this Tom voice much better than his, but again, Toonami scared to do anything sub-related, so we're not going to have anything like that ever happen. And at the same time, I mean, and the rest of Cosmo Samurai was just, it didn't leave an impression on me. It wasn't like great, and it wasn't like horrible. It just did not leave a real impression on me. And people are saying, it must be the reason why the ratings are so high up. It's like, Well, no. And the main reason why is the overall lack of promotion. Like, you could point to how over the last week or so you had like, oh, Adult Swim had these advertisements for Cosmo Samurai. But again, the only people who'd be interested in that are people who care about Toonami in the first place. And if they care about Toonami in the first place, they're probably watching Toonami already. And the fact that it wasn't hyped up like the last Total Immersion event was, which also, if I recall correctly, did not really lead to an increase of viewership during it. So again, I just highly doubt it had any real impact on the ratings. I just think that like Dragon Ball Super fans who sat out the last couple weeks, I don't know what's going on in Dragon Ball Super, if it was like a specific fight or not that was kind of seen as boring to people or whatever, or the fact that again a couple weeks ago you had the UFC fight, and sometimes it takes a few weeks for people to get back to the normal TV watching schedules. So people who usually watch Dragon Ball Super watch the fight, and then it took a couple Saturdays to remember, oh yeah, Dragon Ball Super's on, and then they start watching. They leave their TVs on, and that helps the ratings for everything else. But I digress. What do you guys think? What's your opinions? Are you excited for Black Clover finally coming back to Toonami this Saturday night, February 13th at 2 in the morning? Leave your comments, leave your opinions down below. I love reading them. If you like this content, if you want more content like this, please like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube and on my new to me posting stuff channel on BitChute. I am Super Orange Cat, and that is all.